So I'm reading this book, Dissolving the Ego, Realizing the Self. And I just love this passage. The small self is dissolved by the self with a capital S. The healing attitude of the capital self to the small self is compassion. So when it's referring to the capital self and the small self, the self is more like the ego self. And then the capital self is like our soul, our true silent center, this presence, this essence that radiates within all of us, but we usually kind of dilute it with the small self. And so kind of the goal of meditation and yoga is to constantly align with the self with a capital S. And so that's just a brief overview so we can understand what this is speaking about. So the small self is dissolved by the self. The healing attitude of the self to the self is compassion. It is through forgiveness that one is forgiven. It is through forgiveness that one is forgiven. And we're speaking about the self and the self here. So I find that so often we are our hardest critics, that we hold so much shame and guilt within us. And it is through forgiveness that one is forgiven. And it starts with within. It starts with forgiving yourself. In what areas of your life are you still holding on to blaming yourself? In what areas of your life are you still judging yourself and still hard on yourself? It's time to let that all go and forgive yourself, to be gentle with yourself so that we can heal, so that we can transform, so that we can blossom into our true essence, into the self with a capital S. This is so beautiful and it's so simple. But it takes work and practice of checking in with yourself and becoming aware of your thoughts. When are you the hardest on yourself? When are your thoughts getting in the way of allowing you to truly enjoy all that is right now? I know personally I had to forgive myself so that I could truly love myself. I had to forgive myself for all the so-called mistakes that I made in the past. I had to forgive myself for blacking out. I had to forgive myself for lying, for being greedy. I had to forgive myself for not treating myself with respect. I had to forgive myself for not honoring myself. And I had to forgive myself every single day. And I did. Every single day, I did this practice. I think it was like 4 or 5 things. My good friend Rena taught this to me. Started with one thing that you love about yourself. Then one thing that you forgive yourself for. One thing you are grateful for yourself for. And one thing that you promise yourself. You can start small. But I did this every day for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and this really helped me come out of a depression. That's just one method of forgiveness. Often, too, I believe that we try to be really strong, and we don't allow ourselves to completely feel. And when we don't allow ourselves to completely feel everything that we're moving through, then we can't release. And so these emotions that we think we're being really strong for holding them down and not experiencing them, they're actually going to come up and out in different ways. And so we may drink more so that we numb ourselves, or we may distract ourselves with other things. I know another method of me not allowing myself to feel is eating a lot. I'll overindulge in that, and that could be food. It used to be alcohol and drugs. It used to be maybe TV sometimes. There's all these distractions that we can fill ourselves with. But when we really get silent with ourselves, that's when we get real. That's when we get honest. That's when we give ourselves the opportunity to truly heal. Because within the silence, we can allow ourselves to feel without judgment and without judging the feeling. The feeling doesn't have to identify with good or bad or sad or anything. You can just truly allow yourself to feel. All these feelings are so beautiful. These feelings are what make us human. The feeling of grief comes from love, and the feeling of sadness allows us to know the feeling of joy, and they're all so beautiful. They're all part of the human experience. It doesn't make you not strong for feeling whatever you're feeling. It actually makes you courageous for allowing yourself to feel it and for holding yourself through it, for loving yourself through all of it. And this is a part of forgiving yourself, is allowing yourself to feel everything that you have bottled up inside you, that you said, you're not allowed to feel this. What you did was wrong, and you shouldn't feel any of that sadness because you're in the wrong, or whatever it is. Part of forgiving yourself is a part of releasing judgment, releasing shame, releasing guilt, getting vulnerable with yourself, and allowing all of this stuff that you've been stuffing down inside of yourself for years and years and years to come up and out. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Free yourself. Forgive yourself.